Go through a GCSE Maths paper. So it's an AQA paper one of my students has done. It's the May 2023 paper 1, and we're going to go through it and give them some feedback on their answers, on what they've got correct and what they've done wrong, and how they can improve your answers. And hopefully it can also help the rest of you. So it's the AQA paper 1 from May 2023 non-calculator paper. First question, they've got fully correct. So they've gone through and found a multiple of 4 from this list is 20, because 20 can be divided by 4. They've also found that 9 is a square number, and they've done this by making a list of 1 times 1, 2 times 2, etc. up until 8 times 8, and they've found 9 is a square number from this list. Then they found two numbers in that list having a total of 43, which are 14 add 29. They've then done the largest number in the list, which is 45, divided by the smallest number in the list, which is 15. These two questions they unfortunately couldn't do because they were doing the questions on the iPad and they needed this printed out. So to use a ruler to measure a side length of the square, they had to just put a ruler against this line and using the millimeters to measure it to get 54 millimeters. Then to work out the next one, you'd have to use a protractor to measure the side of the smallest angle. So you'd measure all these angles one by one using a protractor and get 48. With the bottom one, they do give a bit of a leeway if you're 1 or 2 degrees off. These two questions they got fully correct. So they've counted the squares of this quadrilateral and they've worked out the area, getting 15 centimeters squared. They've then also completed the triangle using these blue lines here to get a correct perimeter of 20 centimeters. And remember that perimeter is all the way around the rectangle. The top question, they had to do -4 times -3. So they put -12. -12 isn't correct because when we multiply two negatives, we get a positive. So because we have -4 and -3, these two negatives cancel out to give us positive 12. Second question, they got fully correct. So 6 times -5 gives us -30. Perfect. Third one, -8 squared means -8 times -8, which is positive, as two negatives make a positive to give us positive 64. Question 3D, they got fully correct. So they shouldn't have working out perfect there. 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 10 gives us 1,000. Question 4, they got fully correct. So they've written 18 out of 30 as a fraction in its simplest form. So first they divided it by 2 to get 9 over 15. Then divided it by 3 again to get 3 over 5, which is perfect. Question 5 as well, they got fully correct. So here they had to work out the total price of 5 pens and 1 calculator using the special offers. So the pens were half the normal price, so 24 pence divided by 2 was 12 pence, and the calculators were £1.50 less than the normal price of £7. So the working out here is perfect to give us the answer of £6.10. Question 6a said to write 3 and 2 over 5 as an improper fraction. So to do this one, the answer was 17 over 5. We did this by doing 3 times 5 gives us 15. 15 add 2 at the top gives us 17, and again it's going to be over 5. The next one was write 0.19 as a fraction to give us 19 over 100. Perfect, full marks there. This one as well, they got full marks here, and the working out is here if you'd like to have a little read of it. Question 8, the top part was substitution, which is perfect, well done. Bottom one, they substituted incorrectly. So due to this line, they've unfortunately lost 2 marks in this question. Top one is where they gained a mark. So they put 5p minus 10 is minus 40, which is perfect as we can see here and these values here. What you'd have to do then is add 10 on both sides to get 5p equals minus 30. You'd then divide by 5 on both sides to get p is equal to minus 6. This student tried to substitute the values in here, but instead of keeping the 5 positive, they made the 5 negative and the 6 positive, which was the opposite way here. So they'd get p is minus 6 for the correct answer. Question 9, they got fully correct here. So they said a half is equal to 10 over 20, a quarter is equal to 0.25, and a fifth is equal to 20%. Perfect. Question 10a, they got 1 mark here because of this silly mistake over here. So they've put 8 times 3 is 16, and then 16 add 2 is 18. Although the method is correct, 8 times 3 is 24, and 24 add 2 is 26. Then to get the bottom part, they would have to do 26 times 10 is 260. This one, they got incorrect again here because they've got 7 times 4, they've put 24, but they were supposed to put 28 and then do 28, add 3.5 to get 31.5 and to get the 2 marks. Question 12, they've worked out to go from £240 to 120. So they've done November to October, but the question asks us to do October to November. So 120 to 240 doubles and then increasing by 100%. This one as well. So 5-part orange is equal to 20 students, meaning we've times it by 4. 2-part apple is 8 students, again, meaning times by 4. And then 3-part lime, to work out the lime, you just have to times by 4 again, which means it would be 12 students, and then it would be 12 boxes high. Unfortunately, we added another box here, meaning we've not got the mark. This one is a full mark, 3-mark answer. Full marks here, mark scheme answer. And you can read these as well. If there's any questions, feel free to ask me. This one, we've got 1 mark for the 20 rectangle area and the small whole rectangle area. So for both of these, you've got 1 mark. What you'd have to do then is get the correction part here. So 20 minus 6 is 14, not 16. And then put 14 over 20 as a correct percentage. So it'd be 14 over 20 equals 7 over 10 equals 70%. Bottom one here, they got 1 mark out of 3 for putting the correct calculation down, but the calculation is not fully complete. So it's in 20 minutes, it says here, that Liz has travelled, but they want the speed per hour. So you'd have to do 18 divided by 20 over 60, as 60 is the total minute inside an hour. Here is an algebra question. So the student said, I do not have a starting measurement, so don't know how to work it out. But if we read the question here, we've got angle EBD equals 5 times angle ABE. Angle DBC equals 3 times angle ABE. Work out the size of angle EBD. So the first one they're talking about is angle ABE, which we will just call X. A to B to E is X. Then we have angle EBD, which is EBD. This one here is 5 times the original one, so we will call that 5x. It's just replacing all these words with some algebra. Then we have angle DBC is 3 times angle ABE. So this one is triple this one, so we've put it as 3x. Then it says, work out the size of angle EBD. So they've got 180 perfect there, but the rest, the divide by 8 isn't perfect there. That doesn't really make sense. So what I've done is I've said all of this adds up to 180. So it's x, add 5x, add 3x. And if we add that all up, it makes 9x. And I've said 9x equals 180. So to divide it to work out what 1x is, I've just divided it by 9 to get x equals 20, which is this part here. But the question asks us, work out the size of angle EBD, which is this one here. So EBD is 5x, so we're going to do 20, which is x, times 5 to get 100 degrees for 5x there, which is angle EBD. Question 18, the student here unfortunately lost 3 marks because of this part. So it says 2 prime numbers are multiplied together. The answer is an even number between 50 and 60. Complete the calculation. So prime numbers are numbers that can't be divided by anything apart from 1 and itself. So they can't be 2, 4, 6, 8 because they cannot be divided by 2. We can't have 9 or 15 because they can be divided by 3 and by 5. So 8 here, unfortunately, is not a prime number as it's an even number. So if we did 7 times 7, for example, or 7 times 3, or 7 times 5, or anything like that, just replacing this number, then we could have got the 3 marks. But this number is correct, and this even number is correct, which proves your point. But because this number is even, we lost the marks here. This part, we've got Andrew and Bruce share some money in the ratio of 5 to 6. Bruce gets £96. So the reason the student lost the marks here is because they've done 5 add 6 equals £96. But it states Bruce is the only one getting £96, which is equal to 6 parts in the ratio. So this is my work now. 96 divided by 6 is £16, which is equal to 1 part. 16 times 5 is 80, which is what Andrew's total is. Then it says Andrew gives a quarter of his share to Carl. So a quarter of Andrew's share is 80 divided by 4, which is £20. Then it says Bruce gives 2/3 of his share to Carl. So 2/3 of 96, we're going to do 96 divided by 3 times by 2, which is 64. Then it says how much money does Carl receive? So then we do 64, add 20 to get 84, which is Carl's total.